Thank you for staying with us. I'm still looking forward to my first train ride in Lagos. And I'm talking about the blue line or the red line. Yeah, I know some of you are already veterans. I know, it's okay. But hey, I don't need a train ride on my routes. It's just the way it is, at least for now. But for those who have had a thing or two, had that experience along the line, there are stuff that a number of people have had to say. And to the best of my knowledge, it's all been glowing tributes to the state government, the Lagos state government in particular, for all of that. But the position of LAMATA, that's the Lagos Metropolitan Areas Transport Authority, is that they are shaping the future of transportation in the city. And in a way, kind of pioneering for other states to take a lesson or two. Well, the managing director of LAMATA joins us this morning, Lagos Metropolitan Areas Transport Authority, Mrs. Abimbola Akinjo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, just to be clear, your authority covers rail and road transportation in the city of Lagos. But does it have anything to do with water transportation as well?
So what we do for Lagos is we plan for everything. So we plan for road, rail, and water. But we as an agency have responsibility to implement, regulate, franchise, rail, and road. We farm out the planning. Once the planning is done, then our sister agency, LASWA, has responsibility for the waterways.
You know, the first question I asked you was, do you sleep? Because Lagos is huge, and now you have two lines, red and blue. I know that the plan is to have about 5 lines.
It's 6.
6 lines. So, and it's still going to be LAMATA taking care of that.
LAMATA will have responsibility for
LAMATA
it, yes.
will have responsibility in that regard. And now you're talking about regulating road transport as well. You need to explain that a little further. But my question is, the issue that I'm trying to bring out of that is, Lagos is has a huge population, small size, big population of about 20 million people or more. So that must be such a Herculean task.
Yes, it is, and that's why we must get our public transport right. Because the position is that, like you rightly described, Lagos is small. So all of us cannot be driving. We need to begin to find a scenario where Lagos, where your first choice and my first choice would be public transport. Because then we need to decongest our roads, we need to ensure that our environment is better catered to, reduced emissions and all of that. So when we have a public transport system that functions, that makes you comfortable to get out of home, knowing that wherever I'm going, the public transport will be adequate, and not just any kind of public transport, one that gives me a predictable time of journey, one that is safe, one that is comfortable, is what all of us want.
And reliable, too.
And reliable. So that's where we're talking about predictability of journey. So when I know that when I leave my house and I have looked at an app, and I know that when I get to a bus stop, in the next 5-10 minutes, a bus is coming. And that bus will take me to a train station that I know for a certainty of fact, in about 5 minutes, a train is coming. And I get to the end of that journey and whatever first and last mile movements I need to make. And we can do that by walking, cycling, or motorized. So once we are able to provide that in a city, then we can begin to say that as congested as the city is, it functions. Because when a city functions from a mobility perspective, then everything will work. Economy, everybody needs mobility to get to work, to get to school, to get to recreation. Since we have those visions of being able to have public transport that provides that for us, then at least Lagos, beyond being comfortable, will also be economically in economic growth.
Now, you talked about fully regulated road transport in Lagos. Fully regulated road transport in Lagos. Of course, don't blame me. The yellow color comes to my head. A friend of mine was saying that he didn't know that there was no state that had a specific color. When his friends asked him, what's the color of Lagos? He said, the color of Lagos is yellow. Simply because of the yellow buses.
Because of the yellow buses.
Now, so those are there. How is that going to work? Are they going to be scrapped? Are they also going to be regulated?
Okay, so we need to acknowledge where we are so that we can determine or define how to go forward, and also know where we're coming from. Historically, we've had a system that actually existed, a regulated bus system, and unfortunately things went a different way and we ended up in this space. But what is important is to know where we're headed.
Those are the Oluwole buses.
Yes, and I remember you could tell what bus number you needed to take to get from A to B. So we're where we are. We need to be, and it is with the knowledge of history and the knowledge of how you got here that will allow you to define how you go where you really want to go, which is a regulated system. And in that space, I say that it is not about throwing away what exists now. So the yellow buses, I always say to them, we work with them a lot. There is, if you do not interact with them, you cannot begin to speak of regulation, because they are the ones who carry the majority of people in Lagos. So I say that in Lagos we do about 22 trips a day. About 40% of that is walking. So about 11-12 million trips are mechanized. And the majority of that is done by the Danfos. So somehow we need to change that position. But it's not, you don't change it by getting rid of them. You change it by working with them. And so there's a program that LAMATA is conducting at the moment. It's called sort of like bus industry transition program. So it's a consultant that's working with us and working with the informal sector. It is a vision to bring the formal and the informal together. We understand what they want. They know what we want. Nobody is going to be 100% happy, but we get to a medium that will be good for everybody, especially the commuters that we're all trying to serve. And that vision says that working with them, we bring them to the table. They understand what it means. And let us say that today, the unions are actually working with us in Lagos. So they are running one of our BRT routes. And they're quite successful at it, because these are people who have done public transportation for years. So what Lagos is constantly doing is working with them, ensuring that we begin to expose to them what it means to be a regulated service. And they are understanding that, and we're starting to see some levels of dividends.
You know, one question that came to my mind was, I think there was an attempt at some point, if memory serves me right, to draw in or adopt some of the drivers of these buses for the public services. Whether or not, you may want to speak to that, but just this quick information that we need to make a transition, quick transition right now, only for DSTV viewers right now. There is a live event that we would like you to be a part of. Is the SDG Empowerment Program that's been taken on by the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu. And that's happening, of course, at the Lagos State Secretariat, Alausa Ikeja, and the State House there. And it'll be, for those of you on DSTV, that's what you may be seeing. But if you'd like to continue with us, join us on YouTube right now and all other platforms. We're there for you. So is that part of the plan?
So the drivers that work with them now, it's part of this industry transition program that we're looking at. Obviously, that will come with a lot of training, a lot of awareness programs, just letting them know. Because also, the situation is that a driver that does not have any welfare package is different from a driver that you now suddenly exposed to a welfare package, a scenario that it's not all about, it is only what you earn today that will feed your family, but you have a salary, you have a welfare system, you have a pension, you have the ability to take leave. All those things need to be put in place, because when we see them, we say that these drivers, they drive crazy, but there's a reason behind that. There is nothing behind what they're doing except what they earn. So there will be a need for there to be a transition program, and that's what this program is looking at. Okay, so are you talking about this QBT and interchange hubs? No, so that's a part of the infrastructural developments that the state is putting in place to enhance the public transport space.
Okay.
So the quality bus corridors, we spoke earlier about BRTs. So those are dedicated lanes of buses that buses go on.
Yeah.
Now, what we have is that we have a hierarchy of buses. The first is obviously the BRT, which is sitting in its own dedicated lane. Now you have these quality bus corridors, which are corridors that have been identified as important for public transport, but we don't necessarily have to have dedicated lanes. We have buses in mixed transport, in mixed traffic, but what we're ensuring we're doing is we're building, we're looking after the infrastructure, making sure that the roads are good, providing bus stops so that buses can stop, providing laybys, making it public transport friendly. The ability to also have traffic light systems that will, to a certain degree, recognize when buses are coming. So that's the quickest way to give priority on a mixed traffic lane. So that's the quality bus corridors. We have about 4 of those that we are building today in Lagos. They're in construction as we speak, and we hope to roll them out by the third quarter of next year. And what that means is that we will have to put out new buses. We will ensure that those corridors are populated by regulated bus systems. And in that program, we will be engaging with the unions so that they will work with us to deliver regulated services. We also have the interchanges that we're building, which are transport hubs, transport interchanges, where you have various modes will terminate there. So take a marina, for instance, there's rail, there's water, and there's road. So that there's a marina interchange being built. There's one in Mile 2. The vision is to ensure that you can change mode, you can change a bus in as short a time as possible.
So how is this the construction of these projects that you're talking about, how is it being phased? What are people to look out for instance, over the next 6 months? Will some of these routes or hubs open before others? Okay.
So the way we've looked at it, all of them started at the same time. So they're 4 contractors. There are 3 contractors doing them. So the work will probably all complete round about the same time. We have ensured that we've not put all of our eggs in one basket. We have 3 major contractors working on them, and we expect them to begin to be available from the end of the second quarter of next year.
Interesting that you spoke to how the collaboration with multiple communities and stakeholders is already going. But how about the local communities, not just the transport communities themselves?
So that's the front end of the work that we do. So as we plan projects, we then go back to the communities, and all of that we've done. So we carry out what we call the environmental, social and environmental impact assessment, and the social impacts is what we go back to the communities mainly to discuss, apart from the environmental. So we will let them know, we've sensitized them to what's coming, why we're doing what we're doing, how it will affect their communities, what benefits it will bring, what challenges it will bring, because when you're building in a built-up environment, there'll be homes that will have to be taking over, what the government will do to ease that pain, compensations being paid, and Lagos has, at least in the work that LAMATA has been doing, we've been very good with that. We've identified all of the project affected persons, and they're constantly, as we speak now, they're being compensated to ensure that when they move away from their properties, they have something to take away with that.
Madam, I don't envy you, and I have to praise, what you're doing. But I have a concern on your behalf, and that concern is sustainability.
Okay.
On the one hand, you're doing a yeoman's job building these things, but when we look at some of the areas in which some of these initiatives have been, executed, they have also been decapitated, if I can say, by the same people for where they are made. Go to Mile 12 now. That's a median barricade that was made. To a large extent, all of them are gone. Go to Berger on your way to our studios here. You see that some of those things have been pulled down by the people. So what's the plan? It's always been my concern, the mindset of our people.
And I think it's a big challenge, because when we look at it, everybody is clamoring for development. When development comes, we go with our own hands, we go and tear it down. And the challenge for government is that what I am supposed to be spending to continue to grow the development, I am backtracking to go and fix what has been destroyed. So it's you and I that need to continue to speak to the people. Every time LAMATA does this, own the assets, because it's been built for you with state money.
Apologies, madam. It raises the question about that collaboration, about that sensitization, because perhaps they are aware, but maybe not sensitized to their own liking, how this is mine, because government thing is government thing, mine thing is my thing.
That is a problem that we all must face, and I feel that it is a problem that all of us must fix. We continue to speak to it, because no matter what, you'll be surprised that I have an asset in Surulere. It is somebody that's coming from Oshodi that is coming to, and I'm not saying that because I'm not, I'm just using different. So somebody that's coming from another community will come and destroy it. Now, how do we ensure that, first of all, and it's one of the things the governor was looking at, saying that when you hand it over to the people of that area, they then must have a responsibility to also form. We are so good at this vigilante work that we do for our own assets. Then begin to have that mindset that when government has built something here, then we in this area too must look after it, because it belongs to all of us, and we keep saying it, that we must look after our assets.
Okay, so definitely capital intensive. I can't even begin to ask you how much this is going to cost you now, but how is it being funded? If you may want to tell us how much it's costing you, and how is it being funded, and again, sustainability.
Okay, so it's being funded with funds from AFD, which is a developmental agency of funds. And from a sustainability perspective, it has to be that the project owner, which is Lagos State and LAMATA, continue to look at the assets they have. And what we do in LAMATA is that we have a record of all the assets. We do what we call a yearly inspection of assets. We actually document the state of the assets, and then we begin to look at what we have in terms of budget and how badly our assets are looking. And from that perspective, there are certain things we can do on a yearly basis. But beyond that, I still feel that the biggest challenge has to be that people must own the assets that the state has provided for them. So there is a position that the state is continuing to say we must continue. And you can see it in some of the adverts that are going on about state or government has built something, don't destroy it, don't put refuse out, don't. All of those conversations are conversations that as people of this state we must continue to have, as people of Nigeria we must continue to have, and as people of Nigeria, if you are looking for something from government, please do your part as well. Own the assets, look after the assets, because it's your money and my money that's building it.
Now, let's talk about some metrics or outcomes that your organization will use to measure the success of these projects once they're operational. Are we looking at reduced commute times? Are we looking at higher ridership? Are we looking at improved traffic flow? Or a combination of these factors?
A combination of all of it. Like I said, hopefully, once we're all done, we will have one of the things that we will roll out will be an intelligent traffic system that begins to allow us in LAMATA to see what our buses are doing on the road. And that means we're trying to bring about predictability of journeys for the commuters. We have that completely on the rail. So you can tell when I get to a train station, the timetable tells you when the train is going to start. And it's been 99.85% successful. We have never been late. If we've been late, it's been less than a minute. And that has occurred maybe 0.15% of the time that we've been running. So the ability to do the same with the buses will then allow you to plan your journeys better, have better travel predictable time, so I'm able to get there quicker. I spoke about the traffic management systems that will give buses priority, which means if you're on a public transport, you probably can get to your journeys a lot quicker than if you were sitting in traffic, because the vision of Lagos is to prioritize bus transportation and safety of passenger, because it is only when I know I'm going to be safe that I will be comfortable to ride on the buses. So all of our buses now, we're rolling out CCTVs. We're able to tell you what driver has done what, where. We're able to identify who is driving a bus at what time. And those things are what you need to give some levels of comfort. And the driver knows he's being watched. The passengers know that they're being looked after. And those things give comfort. And also there's safety. The buses are very comfortable.
Are the hailing cabs also part of your regulation?
No, they're not. They sit with the IBILE, yes, and Ministry of Transport.
Now, let's look forward to, say, 7 years from now, taking into account that your current strategic transport plan takes us to 2032. What is your projection for public transport in Lagos?
The projection from where we are sitting in LAMATA is to be able to provide predictable journeys, be able to provide the ability to plan your journey on public transport. That means we will have more buses, we will have more rail systems working. Today we have the red and the blue, the green is in progress. And once you have that, we'll have a rail system where you're looking at connectivity. The big thing is connectivity. When you're able to connect the rail with the buses and the waterways, it gives you a system that functions. And that's what we're looking for. The ability to say, you know what, I'll get out of my house today, I'll take all public transport to my destination, and that's what we're hoping that in the next 7 years we'll have a regulated bus service system. We'll have railways of over at least more than 3 of those rail systems should be implemented. The Purple Line is also coming up, and that would also be in the offering. So when you look at what the Strategic Transport Master Plan is speaking to, it is speaking to an organized public transport sector, and that is what Lagos is trying to implement. And in the implementation of that, the ability to move seamlessly in Lagos grows, and then that says that economy grows, my comfort grows, your comfort grows, our kids can get to school quicker, you can get to hospital quicker, and that is the vision for Lagos.
When you talked about the Green Line, how soon before we have it on stream? Any ideas?
Green Line actually is ramping. We're working, federal government is working up with us on that. There's supposed to be in the next 6 to 8 months, we should start seeing some construction works. It may be in the expansion of the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway to accommodate the rail that's coming, but those are what we call early works to allow the implementation of the rail.
Madam, let's speak to trust. I know you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Generally, anything government, there is a lot of skepticism and pessimism. It has been proven that government can be trusted to an extent with the red line and the blue line. Particularly, I mean, the rail system in Lagos is something everyone is praising. I know that, But the fact that I can't really put all of my eggs in the basket of LAMATA or the Lagos State government and say, I can go to sleep with my 2 eyes closed, leave my car. There was a time we did that. I remember in the Muritala days, you left, if your car was an even numbered car, you left it somewhere. If it was an odd numbered car, you went out on specific days of the week. So how do we buy trust, the trust of the people, of the elite, for them to be able to drop their vehicles at home and say, I want to try this?
Okay. So the vision for that trust to materialize, we've started to see. We've seen it in the rail lines. So it says, most people that will take it will tell you, I can set my clock by it. Now, we need to begin to see that grow in the rail sector and then see that happen on the bus, in the bus sector. And the problem really and truly has always been about availability of rolling stock. Now, I said earlier that we have over 12 million mechanized trips daily. In Lagos, we need nothing less than 12 to 15,000 high to medium capacity buses. Today, we're functioning with 1,000 and 1,500, between 1,000 and 1,500 buses. Now, what we have identified is states cannot financially provide all of what we require. So, Lagos State is working today with private sector. And it is the only reason private sector is coming to work with LAMATA and Lagos State is because they can see progress. They themselves can see that actually this state is serious about this sector, about this transportation sector. Don't forget, it's the first pillar of Mr. Governor's agenda. So there has been a level of seriousness that has been demonstrated by state and that has been acknowledged by private sector. Today I have various private sector players coming to speak to us about some. I'm bringing 2,000 CNG buses, I'm bringing 5,000 CNG buses, and we're working with them. And I believe that in the next 9 months or so, we will begin to see a rollout. Today, I have a number of them come. There's a guy who's worked with us, he's brought 25 CNG buses so far, and before the end of the year, he will complete 100. Now, these people are not coming because they want to throw away their money. They're coming because they can see progress. They can see that as state, we are putting our skin in the game and we're asking private sector to come. And they can see that they're not going to lose their money, but they will not only make money, but they will also impact on their state. So for me, I feel that Lagos State has demonstrated a willingness to provide that trust. And that trust comes, first of all, with private sector working with us. And then when the people start to see the number of buses that are being rolled out, there will be the trust will grow and develop.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's always going to be about the people, because if we cannot factor in the people element, that is where we are likely to always have problems. I have to thank you for everything that you've been doing, because as I said, the question is, how do you sleep? Anyway, maybe that's the question that we were asked all the time. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Abimbola Akinjo is Managing Director, Lagos Metropolitan Areas Transport Authority, LAMATA. We appreciate your time again.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, when we return, we're talking about something we've spoken about quite a few times on this program, the leadership recruitment process. How big is our leadership capital? That and a number of other issues when we return.